Welcome to our college football show. I don't think we have a name for it. It's not Bama Brigade. We do Bama Brigade. Kind of nondescript college football show. We've been shifting around what we talk about. And also, the intro is a lie. Joe's not here. But Clack and I are here to talk about college football and wallow in our sadness for about 45 minutes to an hour.
I got a question. Before we talk about football, I just want to get your take on it. I would love to hear Joe's outlandish and crazy takes on this.
Okay.
Questions. When is it too early for Christmas movies, and what is the best Christmas movie?
So I am a big proponent of after Thanksgiving, like wait till Thanksgiving is over. I mean, I get it if you're like super passionate about Christmas. Watching movies and stuff like that, I think is okay. I think blasting Christmas music everywhere should not happen before Thanksgiving, right? Give the poor retail workers a break.
I agreed on that. I thought the same thing you did until like after Saturday. I'm like, I have no will to watch anything else because I am just frustrated with everything. I'm like,
right.
You know what? Screw it. I'm starting Christmas early. Bama's season's over. Bring on Christmas.
Hey, we have a higher chance to make the playoffs than you would think, honestly.
We did. I mean, who knows what can happen? This season's been
absolutely
chaos. This season's been pure chaos. But I mean, we're being real. Like I said in the group message, I'd rather miss the playoffs and win a ball game than make the playoffs and get absolutely murdered by a Georgia or somebody, because we just don't look like a playoff team. I mean,
I know, but we were just actually before we went live talking about like moral victories and stuff like that. And I think that I would rather, you look at like Cincinnati last year, even though they got obliterated, I think they much rather would have made it and lost than like we take for granted how hard it is to be a top 4 team year in and year out, because we almost always are, to the point where we have 2 losses before the final week of the season for the first time in God knows how long, and people are like, oh, Alabama's not a good team anymore. Like it's impossible. It's you build up such a big standard, it's almost impossible to keep it, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So, and then what was you said Christmas food or Christmas cookies?
No, I said when is it too early for Christmas movies, and what is the best Christmas movie?
Oh, the best Christmas movie. Okay, you're going to hate me for this. I'm not a big Christmas movie guy, honestly.
I agree. There's about 5 that I watch, and that's about it. I will say this. Elf is the most overrated.
I can agree with that.
Elf is not Will Ferrell's best Christmas movie.
My mother is a huge Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer person. Like, I have to watch that at least like 3 times a year.
Elf, to me, is it's not Will Ferrell's best Christmas movie.
Yeah.
So, but that's just a hot take. If I had to go one, you can't not like the Home Alones.
Yeah.
There's also one that's called Fat Man that is by oh gosh, who is the main character in that one? I should know that. It slipped my mind. It's
I looked up Fat Man and I just have pictures of shirtless fat man.
Mel Gibson is the lead
actor. That just came out like 2 years ago.
2 years ago. It came out 2 years ago. Mel Gibson and Walton Goggins are the 2 with Mary. I can't talk today. But Mel Gibson is the main actor, and that was a very good movie. Kind of an off the radar. Anyway.
Yeah. I saw there was also one with the guy from Stranger Things, like Hopper from Stranger Things. It's coming out this year. It's like,
I don't know. Stranger Things to me was hard to get into.
Yeah. I go through phases. I never caught up all the way, but I watched like
it's a weird
2.5 of the season. Anyway, football, sports. Also on here. Okay, I guess this will be a pretty interesting question too. How do you feel about pumpkin spice? Is it good or bad?
Oh, I forgot I put that on last week.
Okay, I didn't know if it was you or Joe that put that on.
I think that was me. I was wanting to get him to take the bait on this one, but
he's 100% a pumpkin spice guy. There's no chance he isn't.
There's no way Joe is not a pumpkin spice guy.
Like everything about him screams pumpkin. I don't know if it's just the hair color, but it just screams pumpkin spice to me.
I don't know. I love it. I am a huge, but it needs to be seasoned. I love it, but it is a seasoned food. It's like dressing, stuffing, whatever the hell you want to call that. It's like Thanksgiving food. Thanksgiving food is good one day a year. It's awful on others.
I don't know. I feel like if it was more socially acceptable, I would eat turkey more often than I do.
Yeah, I'm not a turkey person either.
But yeah, I don't know. I think pumpkin spice is fine. I think that there's some people that are overly enthusiastic about it, but I think that it's kind of looped around at this point where it came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then people got excited about it to the point where it got super popular, and then like everything became pumpkin spice, right? So it's kind of looped back down to like it's good, but like now it's not like in everything, thankfully, because that was a weird phase.
Yeah, I agree. It's some things should only be seasoned, and that's one of them. Like pumpkin should never be brought out.
One good thing about the holidays coming up, shout out LeBron James, Sprite cranberry. I fell in love with the Sprite cranberry.
Really,
Yeah, it makes a good mixer.
that's so good.
Anyway, I just remember LeBron had the commercials where like, "You want a Sprite cranberry?"
Well, I'm trying to stay off of alcohol because it's Bama Sports makes me want to just absolutely drink my every. I mean, I'm short. We all know that. It's not doesn't take much to get me drunk, but when I watch Alabama athletics, I feel like I need. I've got a
basketball's undefeated.
Hey, 1-0, not a bad game Monday night. We'll talk about that at some point. But I was literally waiting for Joe to say we suck again the whole game. And
he did, or maybe you did, or someone did. I saw on Twitter we had a bunch of people complaining about
No, I was literally looking at Joe, waiting for Joe to say something just so I could argue with him. Because we were like 2 for 27 from 3. I knew he was going to say something.
Right.
Like the defense was better than it's been in umpteen million years. Anyway, we're 10 minutes in and haven't talked about football yet.
Yeah, we'll get to basketball a little bit because I like basketball, and I'll talk about basketball with you more so than probably Joe would. But hello. I want to talk about some of the games from last week. We had a really chaotic week. I think it was the first time ever that like 3 teams in the top 6 or something like that lost.
Mm-hmm.
Grant. So we'll start with the first game of the week, or first big game of the week. Oregon State at number 24 Washington. So little preface. I was just looking at the scores on Google, and it had the updated rankings for the teams already. I think it was flipped. Oregon State was 24 going into Washington. So all these numbers that I'm going to say are the current rankings in the coaches poll or the AP poll. They're not the rankings at the time. I'll point out the ones that are important, like Tennessee or Alabama. But Oregon State was 24 at the time. They lost 21-24 at Washington. My friend was actually at that game, and he said that it was really exciting. Washington had a game-winning drive to seal it. And funnily enough, turns out Vegas knows what they're talking about. I think the spread was 3.5 points towards Washington.
I've learned one thing this football season is that Vegas knows what they're doing.
I have learned to trust the Vegas overlords, right? If there's some weird shit going on in the scoring or the predictions, there's something up. I don't know.
I agree.
But how do you feel about Michael Penix? He's been having a really good season. For a while, he was a Heisman contender, or a dark horse Heisman contender.
I think the thing with him is he showed these signs at Indiana, and now here at Washington, he's played some really good football, but he's also been very inconsistent. I think it's also hard to tell. Joe has been really a big fan of Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. I'm just going to say it is. The Pac-12 is when you do the Power 5 conferences, there's 4 of them. And then way down here below the other 4, there's a Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
You can't – I just don't feel like you can judge someone properly in the Pac-12. I just don't think the Pac-12 is a good conference.
I would actually kind of argue, though. I think that the Big 12 might be worse than the Pac-12 right now. I don't know. Oklahoma and Texas normally carry the Big 12, right?
Yes, definitely.
And then both of them this year have had their struggles. I think that with USC, the Lincoln Riley-led USC, and Oregon bouncing back over the way they have, I think that the Pac-12 currently is probably stronger than the Big 12.
I agree.
I don't know. I think that Michael Penix is super interesting, and I liked him at Indiana. I'm glad that he's finally having success. A couple of things that are I kind of worry me about quarterbacks is when you see a quarterback that is older, right? I mean, he's 22, he's not super old. But when you see a quarterback that's older and takes a while to grasp the offense, and then they have one good year after transferring to a school like that, it kind of are they good? Is it a Joe Burrow situation where they're actually good? Or is it just they've spent so many years that they're more experienced and know how to exploit stuff, and it's not going to work at the next level?
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be an intriguing prospect. I think that he'll be like a later round guy. He's not going to be a top guy, but he's the other thing that kind of hurts him a little bit, I think, honestly, is that he's a lefty.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, this is going to sound weird, but if you're not the bona fide starter as a lefty, you are worth less to other teams because I don't know if you know this, ball spins differently just depending on if you're a lefty or a righty throwing the ball. So having a backup quarterback that comes in and the ball spins differently when your starter gets hurt, like he would be a good backup for someone like Tua. But if you have a righty starter and then a lefty backup, it makes it harder on your receivers. So
yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It's if you watch Tua's motion, Tim Tebow's motion, any famous or good lefty, their motion is also different. They're coming a lot lower when they let in their motion is lower than a righty, and it looks so much different. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's kind of your Geno Smith, he's going to make a good backup. He may get a chance to start. I mean, who knows? Look at what Geno Smith's done this year. I mean, sometimes your backup QBs that go late round can be really good. So, I mean, who knows? I think he's got potential.
He's leading the nation in passing yards this year, too. I mean, I think he's been pretty good, and he's only a junior, so he could come back for one more year, too.
I'll throw this out there. NFL, if I am a third or fourth round and I need a quarterback in my system as a backup or whatever, it's not going to come down to this deep. I would take him over Will Levis. I am not a fan of Will Levis at all.
Wow.
There is nothing about Will Levis that I like. Like he has shown nothing. Everybody touted him as some Heisman contender, whatever. I mean, he could not even. I mean, Bill freaking O'Brien scored 42 points against Tennessee. Yeah. You can't tell me Kentucky and a quarterback that's supposed to be a first-round pick can't score at all on him because Tennessee's defense is not good. I mean,
they truly run a pro-style offense there in Kentucky, except the pro style that they're emulating is like the Houston Texans or something like that.
I mean, I feel like we're running pro-style at this point.
But I don't know. I think that Will Levis is a combination of scouts not wanting to admit that they were wrong coming into the season at this point, and honestly, just Josh Allen having ruined the way that quarterbacks are graded because he's big and strong. Maybe he'll be the next Josh Allen, and that's going to happen for every quarterback that's 6'5" and can throw far now.
I mean, I just don't I mean, I don't think Will Levis has the talent to be like that. Will Levis is not as fast as Josh Allen. He doesn't have the arm strength Josh Allen has.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, he has far more. I mean, you compare Josh Allen. Josh Allen was at Wyoming, which I saw a tweet the other day. How the heck did Josh Allen end up at Wyoming of all places? And he's
there's always players that are misses, right?
So. I agree. But my thing is he does not have you compare. I mean, yeah, they are comparable in size and style, but I mean, come on, he plays at Kentucky. You've got talent around you. You've got enough talent to be decent, and he's just not showing it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's a lot better than we think. You look at guys going off position here, but guys like Kevin Thibodeau, who we were really low on, and look how they're producing very well in the NFL. Maybe it's a bad style fit. Maybe it's whatever.
I think,
and I don't think Mark Stoops is an offensive coach. I don't think Mark Stoops is an offensive guy. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but I just am not high on Will Levis.
Thibodeau was a weird case though, because he had shown all that talent already. It was just his last year he kind of stopped trying as much. But I think that for his case, he's very clearly good.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. So I mean, Washington wins. They go back into the rank, and helping the Pac-12 out a little bit. I guess it didn't matter because it's Pac-12.
This next game, I really wish Joe was here to talk about. He loves his Big Ten so much.
Right. So
that's in the Big Ten.
Number 2, Ohio State won 21-7 over Northwestern. I put this game on here as the notable game because they kind of struggled for a long time. It was a close game, and they didn't really. I think CJ Stroud had 76 passing yards.
Yep.
That is obviously I didn't get to catch all of the game. I was moving, but yeah, he went 10 for 26 for 76 yards and no touchdowns. That is very pedestrian against. I mean, against both quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks combined for 155 yards. So I don't know. It's just the Buckeyes won, right? And I never want to take away from a team winning, but I really thought for a while that was going to be Ohio State's yearly, like, you have a playoff berth locked up and then you lose to a random team inexplicably.
Well, I don't think Ohio State is that. I mean, Ohio State is that. I mean, are they a top 5 team? Yeah. You have to say they are until they prove they're not.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, I'll say it. I don't think Ohio State's that good. I don't think they're bad by any means, but I don't think they are this team that's good enough to win a national championship, especially against a Georgia, Tennessee,
Right.
even maybe a Michigan. I think talent-wise, I think Alabama's probably the best team in the country, but we all know what's going on there. But I just don't think Ohio State is a good enough team. I don't think defensively they are better than they have been in years defensively, but they're also not where your Georgias, even maybe your Michigans, even Clemson, I think defensively is better than them. But Clemson has issues. We know Clemson's issues are offensively, but I just don't think Ohio State is that good. You play in the Big 12, Big 10. You've left Columbus 3 times all year. We're at November whatever this week is. You're gonna look good. If Alabama had a home game every week until past Halloween, we'd be undefeated and well rested right now. Ohio State does not. There's nothing Ohio State has. I'll put it like this: if Ohio State's number 5 and there's a 1-loss SEC team that doesn't make the conference championship, I'm taking them over Ohio State.
You can just say Tennessee. It's okay.
Okay. Let me put it like this. I'm taking, if I have options between Ohio State, Tennessee, and LSU, I'm putting LSU and Tennessee in over Ohio State. I don't trust that. I don't trust their schedule. I don't think they're. You want the 4 best teams? I don't think they're one of the 4 best teams.
I just don't think you can put LSU in there, but I don't know.
They win the SEC and beat Georgia. I think you have to.
Oh yes, okay, yes.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
A 2-loss SEC champion versus a 1-loss Big 10 non-champion. Yes, I think. I don't know. I just don't think Ohio State. You want the 4 best teams? Ohio State's not one of the 4 best teams.
Gotcha. Yeah. Who do they play next week?
Indiana.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, they're going to breathe. I really think the only game that they're going to be challenged in pretty much all year is going to be the Michigan game. And that'll be really interesting.
I agree. I think Illinois in the Big 10 championship could challenge them, but not enough.
Yeah. So, number 15, UNC beat Virginia by 3. UNC has been, I don't know, they were getting a lot of hype as like maybe the team out of the ACC that's not Clemson, and they've kind of been up and down this year. But they fought a close win against Virginia. And what is Virginia's record? Has Virginia ever been good at football?
No, they had a 8-5 season in 2018, I believe it was, and went to the Orange Bowl and lost.
Yeah. They're 1-5 in the conference, 3-6 overall, and UNC's 5-0 in the conference, 8-1 overall. So it's it was shaping up to be a bad beat. UNC pulled it out, but
yeah, I don't trust UNC. I don't think UNC is that good. I think they're just not a very strong team. They're in the weakest division of the East.
Yeah,
or the ACC. So I don't know. I mean.
They give up a lot of points. They gave up 61 to App State. They lost. They gave up 45 to Notre Dame. Their only game that they gave up less than 24 points in was against Virginia Tech. So I think that's going to be a real issue. And they play Wake Forest this next week. I think that Wake Forest is going to come away with the win.
Interesting.
Number 4, TCU beat Texas Tech 34-24. TCU is not going to be a playoff team when it's all said and done. They're losing. Spoiler, I think they're going to lose next week.
This
week? Yeah, sorry, this coming week. And but I mean, props to them. I think it's interesting at least seeing a new team in the hunt for the playoffs. And that's one of my favorite, like over the past couple of years, one of my favorite things about the playoffs has always been like who's going to get that fourth slot, right? Because 1 through 3 is pretty much the same teams, same general teams every time, but the fourth slot is always interesting. Like you get your Notre Dame, you get your Cincinnati, et cetera, et cetera. So if it could be TCU, if they went out and make it, that'd be interesting. I mean, their quarterback's been really good this year, right?
I agree. I think TCU has been good. Sonny Dykes, I think this TCU being good kind of, I'm one of the, I have hot takes on Twitter. No, that's no secret. I had been saying like Gary Patterson was like very washed and overrated. And I think this proves that I'm right. I mean, TCU has talent. They've got Sonny Dykes is not a big name, and look what he's coming in and done. Granted, the Big 12 was very weak, like we just discussed a minute ago. But I mean, TCU they've had some tough games. Max Duggan can get it done. Max Duggan has got it done 10 times this year, probably. They've had to fight from behind every game. That being said, that's going to be a problem for them. You can't get, you falling behind early is going to bite you at some point. You can't play with fire and not get burned. You're going to get burned. I think it's going to come this weekend. Maybe. I don't know.
They play Texas this weekend and in Austin. And so I think that I think their luck's going to run out. I think that Texas is a good team. I think that if Quinn Ewers didn't get hurt, Texas would have Texas would have been up there, right? I mean, we only beat them by 1 point. So, but I don't know. Like props to TCU in their season so far, and we'll see how long it goes. I put this one on here just for you. Number 19, Liberty beats Arkansas 21-19. And I just want to say, I think last year Arkansas was good. Sam Pittman got a lot of hype. I think it's pushed the brakes a little bit. They are not that good anymore. Like they had their 1 year, right, where he was good, and then Eric Musselman and like Arkansas basketball was also good at the same time. Unfortunately, both teams have come up just a little bit short this season. I wanted to say that basketball hasn't even played yet, but
see what you did there. Yeah, you got to give credit though to Hugh Freeze and Liberty. I mean, I think they're a little biased. I think they're the best G5 team right now, even over Tulane and UCF. Mm-hmm. Just what he's been able to do. I mean, you look at that game, and yeah, they beat a bad Arkansas team, okay, but you're on your third string quarterback. You've had so many injuries, and yet you're coming in. I mean, it's still Arkansas. It's still an SEC team that was ranked preseason and has been, on the cusp of getting back in the top 25. That's a big win, and especially to be a independent school who has not even been, Division I for 5 years, to come in and get such a big win. There's a lot of credit to give Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze has done wonders. He's made some, I think I've been critical of him, especially because the fact that he cost Liberty the Wake Forest game, but man, what a job he's done to get, Liberty where they are. Should be in the top 25, but it is what it is. I'm really impressed, really happy. I hope that this doesn't mean that Auburn's going to come calling. That being said, Liberty can pay more than Auburn right now from what I've heard, what I've seen. He's only making $5 million. I see nothing wrong with making that about $7 million if you want to be serious about the athletics department.
Right.
Keep him there. Moving to the Conference USA next year, you're getting into more of a good conference, having a better shot at, bigger time bowl games. So, yeah, I'm really happy with them. Hopefully, this week at Connecticut, they've come out of nowhere to be good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope that continues this weekend.
Yeah. Number 12, Clemson lost to number 20, Notre Dame, 14-35. Been saying it every week. Been pounding the table every week. I said Clemson is not going to go undefeated. They're going to lose. I said they're going to lose to Notre Dame. Also, I said they're going to lose to about 10 other teams. But ignore that. I was finally right? Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then, or whatever the saying. So that being said, Clemson was getting really lucky. They were kind of skirting by all year. I'm not saying they're an awful team. They're definitely like a top 20 team, but I didn't think they're a playoff team, and I think that this all but kills their playoff hopes. I mean, you look at their loss to Notre Dame dropped them to 12. Alabama's second loss of the season only dropped us to 10. So, like, that was kind of the committee's way of being. I mean, I don't know exactly where Clemson is in the playoff ranking. This is based off the 8 people. So 10th, and Alabama's 9th. But still, it kind of banished them to the shadow realm a little bit. It pretty much kills their hopes of making the playoffs. And I saw that. I don't think he got hurt. I think that DJ Uyunglele got benched again, and because I remember seeing Cade. I guess it was only for one pass, so I guess it was he must have got hurt, or it was like the last drive of the game. Because I was gonna say I saw highlights of Cade Klubnik in there, but
I did not. I was too frustrated about him, but even look at this game.
Well, and the kind of ridiculous thing is Notre Dame put up 35 points. They won 14-35. Their quarterback had 85 yards passing and only 9 completions.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they had a pick 6.
They did.
Yeah. Benjamin Morrison had 2 picks. So, but yeah, I mean, props to Notre Dame. I think that there's going to be some growing pains, right, with their new head coach. And they're 6-3. They've had their high moments. They've had their low moments. I think that it's a solid foundation to, for a first season. And I think that with some of the teams doing the way they are, people have unrealistic expectations about how good a team should be in their first season. But I think Notre Dame is going to be, hanging right around their typical good independent team status, right? I think that they're going to be just fine. That being said, I still think they should join a conference, and that would help them so much. But
I think Marcus Freeman's really done a good job. They were riding the ship in Notre Dame. Yeah. Started off awful, but he's riding the ship, done a great job. Maybe he is a good coach.
Yeah. Also, to be fair, like one of their literal first game of the season was against Ohio State. So
yeah.
And that was one of their 3 losses. And then they lost to Stanford, close game. And who am I missing? Marshall. Yeah, that's the only embarrassing one. But yeah, I mean, good for Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame is one of those teams, in my opinion, that football is a little bit more exciting when Notre Dame's competitive and like kind of creeping around out there.
Agreed.
So I said I'd point out their old rankings, and they're going to do it. It's number 5 and number 1 now. It was number 1 Tennessee and number 3 Georgia. Tennessee lost 13-27, and man, Georgia is pretty definitively the best team in the country now.
Yeah, they are. I agree, but I do think Tennessee came out. I think Tennessee did hurt themselves a lot with not being able to get in the end zone that first, especially when you get a turnover, you have to score, especially against a team like Georgia. Georgia is resoundingly the number 1 team in the country, but I think Tennessee is a clear top 2. I think Tennessee's the second best team. I do honestly think. You don't think so?
I think Tennessee's a little overrated. I think they have a flashy offense, but when they play good teams, I mean, like
I can agree with that. I can, but who do you think is the second best team? I mean, I can get on board with Michigan because they haven't had a hiccup all year.
Yeah.
But I think Tennessee belongs in the playoffs. I think. I think the problem for Tennessee is I don't care what you say, you're not going to get Georgia on a neutral site because you play in the Georgia Dome, Mercedes-Benz, the place is just as loud as Sanford Stadium, if not louder. I've been there when we played Georgia. That place is loud. That place is just as tough to play as Sanford Stadium. When you get a bunch of Georgia fans in there, you're not gonna get them on a neutral site. You're not gonna touch them. If that game was in Knoxville, Tennessee wins. I do think, just because home field advantage is so big.
Yeah, well, and I think that was going to be my counter too. Is we talked about Ohio State playing all their games at home, but same with Tennessee. They've only had one impressive win on the road really all season. That was at LSU, but that was early season LSU. I think, which was pretty definitively a different team than they are now. Right? I don't think that at the beginning of the season LSU was nearly as good as they are now. I think they took a little bit to kind of mesh. And also, I mean, to be fair though, LSU has 2 losses. One of them is to Tennessee. One of them was week 1 to Florida State on a missed extra point after they got all the way back down the field to tie the game again. So I don't know. I think that Tennessee has had some impressive home games, but I think like you look, they went into Georgia, and their offense got stuffed, and I think that pretty much any of the teams that are competing, right, like Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, they're all going to have those defenses that might finally have answers to the Volunteers offense. Mm-hmm. I think that the Volunteers defense is just so bad that they're not going to be able to stop. Like, I mean, you saw in the Alabama game, right? Like pretty much every drive was a score. Yep. So, I just don't think that when you're playing against a team like Georgia that can actually stop you from scoring every drive, I don't think their defense is good enough to hold up as much.
I agree.
And then the last one I wanted to talk about, number 10 Alabama lost 31-32 to number 7 LSU. Alabama was 6, LSU was 10. I mean, I don't know. I think that it may be cope, but I think that it's a good thing in the long run that we lost this game. I think that it's finally going to be the push that like they need to make some desperately needed changes to like offensive play calling, defensive play calling. My thing is like, I have some questions about Alabama actually, and so rapid fire.
Okay.
I prepared all these questions. I'm just gonna rapid fire ask them to you. I want to get your immediate thoughts. Okay. So, assuming that Alabama fires their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, who are your ideal picks for?
Garrett Riley, Gary Patterson.
Okay, for OC and DC. I think that I saw some people saying D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans is absolutely not going to come here. He's going to get NFL head coaching jobs.
I want to be realistic. Garrett Riley, I would go. I'm not a fan of Frank Reich. I know somebody said that. I don't. We've tried NFL baggage. Don't give me more NFL baggage.
Right, like Doug Marrone, Bill O'Brien, both recently have been tragic.
Just don't mean. I would love to pull. There may be some other NFL coaches that get fired that shouldn't. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's a chance Sark doesn't make it through the season. If they fall short, then obviously bring him back. But I mean, I'm Garrett Riley, Gary Patterson, that would be a great duo.
How was the team so wildly unprepared in overtime to the point where they took a timeout and still lined up with like the wrong personnel on the field afterwards?
It's the defense is so complex. The way Pete Golding's defense is, it's not you need to simplify the defense. They don't know what's going on. They are confused and they don't know what's going on.
I think that there's a point to complexity, right? Like if you keep the offense guessing, then it works out well if you can execute it perfectly. But I think that there becomes a point where you're hurting yourself by making it too complex. And I'd rather have a simple defense that works well than a complex defense that doesn't work, right? So
yes.
Okay, next question. Has Pete Golding ever heard of a quarterback spy?
No, apparently not.
Because I swear to God, every single play was straight man, no spy, and then Jaden Daniels just ran. Like, literally the first play of overtime that LSU had the ball, he just scrambled for 20 yards and a touchdown. And I just don't understand, like, so what is the purpose of that? Like, I feel like that's just a super basic adjustment.
Yeah, I agree.
That one was more of a hypothetical. I put these all kind of in stream of conscious orders. I was thinking there's no rhyme or reason to them, so I'm just going to bring them up. Alabama now has a 17% chance of making the playoffs. Obviously, we're going to need LSU to lose among other teams. You said earlier that you would rather win a good bowl game than get destroyed in the playoffs. You want to kind of explain that?
I don't want to go. I just don't think this team, if this has what it takes to win the playoffs, I don't think that, like I tweeted Bryce, and this is not a knock on Bryce. This is on the receivers. This is not on Bryce. And this is on the line as well. The last person is on is Bryce, but Bryce had more passes completed to the ground than he did to his receivers because the receivers won't get open. The offensive line won't block. And I just the offense, the defense has shown spurts of being good, like against Mississippi State, but the offense is just not there. Even when we do score, it's Bryce having to make some kind of magic happen because the offensive line is not blocking or because he's being rushed or because somebody won't get open. I just don't think this team has what it takes to be competitive with a top 4 team. I don't want to go in and get destroyed and have that on Bryce's legacy that you went into the playoffs and got destroyed. Win the Orange Bowl, come out you want an NY6 game, be content with it, and then I don't want to see Bryce go out with a big loss just in the playoffs.
Well, the double-edged sword though is I think that if we go to the Orange Bowl, Bryce probably isn't even going to play, and I wouldn't fault him for it at all. I think he'd be smart not to play. I did see a funny meme that was like Jalen Milroe in a crisp game in December running for his third touchdown against a random FBS team, and then it was like what's his name? Dabo Swinney like running out of the Clemson tunnel. But why do you think Bryce Young this last week was so not on the same page with his receivers?
I think part of Bryce's thing is he is also being banged up, but it's like our receivers do not know how to get open. I mean, like, when was the last time somebody actually got wide open on a normal pass play?
Right.
I mean, the touchdown came off of Bryce having to scramble for 35 minutes, and then somebody just kind of squeaked behind the defense. The receivers do not get open. Like, it's like they're just standing around.
I saw that Nick Saban said that Bryce Young hadn't, like, during the off week, didn't practice with the offense at all, trying to recover. But I'm left to wonder if that's a good idea, right? Like, even if it's just light throwing to get everything down, I think that you could clearly see that he hadn't really practiced as much. Like, they were all off, and there was a bunch of miscommunications. So, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but I think I'm left to wonder if that maybe had a big part to do with it.
Yeah.
Next question: outside of week 1, has Jermaine Burton been open all season?
No.
Like, I don't think we brought him in to be our wide receiver number 1. I think he averages maybe 1 catch a game at this point for like 10 yards.
Yeah.
And it's not just him, it's everyone. But this is kind of another question too, is like, why don't we see more young guys get an opportunity at this point, right? Like, instead of trotting Jermaine Burton out there, instead of trotting, I have him on the next one, but like Cam Latu, why not, put out like Amari Niblack or like Isaiah Bond more, or even like Tyler Harrell hasn't played. I mean, I know we do this every season, right? As soon as something goes wrong, you go, oh, why didn't X player play, Y player play? But
I think Nick Saban's big on if you don't practice, you don't play. I guess these guys aren't practicing well. There's got to be a reason, but at the same time, like I feel like it's also, this is the year it's okay to question, and I'm not saying it's okay to question. Yes, it's always okay to question coaches because sometimes we need to know answers and nobody's above, But here's my biggest thing is I feel like Nick Saban has built it. We've seen it before with the fact he refused to go to Tua until we were backs against the wall. Had to. Mm-hmm. He refused. It's the same, loyalty he has to Bill O'Brien. I think he's kind of like lets the coordinators run who plays, who doesn't. And we all know Bill O'Brien is not fit to make that decision. I think that sometimes it's like it took almost being shut out against Georgia to bring in Tua. And I think it's taken something like this to finally let Nick Saban know you can't let Bill O'Brien dictate everything about the offense.
Yeah.
I think it's a coaching thing. I don't think it is okay to blame Nick Saban. I think it's a coaching issue there as well as a practice issue. Sometimes you just got to be willing to throw caution to the wind and do something absolutely stupidly crazy if you want to win. And
right.
at this point, I mean, I'm not saying the season's over, and I hate to look at it from that mindset, but at this point, you've got to start looking into next year. You've got to start making plans for who really wants to be here enough to show that they deserve their spot on the roster and deserve to be here.
Right. And like, I don't know if this is a bad take, but I think that at this point you got to start, you say you have some talented freshmen on the bench, say they've been practicing well, but there's someone ahead of them, like Jermaine Burton or someone like that. I think at this point you got to start working them in a little bit so that you don't have a situation where they go, oh, they don't want me. Clearly I'm going to transfer out and go to a different school and ball out. I think that with the transfer portal being what it is, I think that if you don't play, I mean, obviously players come to the Alabama with the expectation that, okay, I might have to sit a year, I might have to sit 2 years. But my point is, I think that when players see something clearly like this not working, obviously they can't help but think like, I should be out there. So Eli Ricks had his second game starting. He he had a more rough game. He had a really good first game. He had 2 pass interference calls this last week and gave up 60 yards or something. So
I'm glad Joe Will's not the coach. I mean, I get the point of playing him, but like I said, you can't. Like I said last week's show, whatever. You can't get high on somebody because they have one good game, and I think that's the same case here. Like I said on Twitter, he's proven why the heck he's not practicing or why he's not been playing all year.
I mean, I don't think he was a liability per se. I just think that people were like, he's the solution. I just think that, maybe we should pump the brakes on that a little bit. Also, he was going to play regardless because I think Terry and Arnold was out with an injury. So, but, I think that I just want to put that one out there to say pump the brakes a little bit. He's not.
I agree. But, I mean, he wasn't that bad, but also you can't be giving up pass interference and all that.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on Henry To'oTo'o? Like, I like him. I'm sorry. I don't care if he's a leading tackler. He's also our leading penalty getter. I mean, come on.
he's in the right position a lot. I think he's a decent tackler, and I think that he's a good field general, right? I mean, as good as we can have with this defense, like putting people around where they should be. I think that sometimes he can be dumb as a box of rocks, just so many unnecessary penalties and stuff like that. Like so many unnecessary. Anytime he comes into a play after it's over, I'm scared that he's going to hit the guy for no reason and draw a unnecessary roughness call.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should have to worry about that. And again, that's what you're talking about earlier is that's on coaching as well, right? At that point when it happens repeatedly. So, speaking of players on the defense, I kind of want to get your take on Dallas Turner this season. I feel like he should be doing a lot more than he's doing, right? With all the attention that Will Anderson's been getting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, Will Anderson's getting all the attention. Why is Dallas Turner not having, what happened to Dallas Turner? I don't know.
Right.
Again, here's what I'm thinking, though. Will Anderson's not even having that. He's not having the season he had last season. That's why I blame coaching. There's so many guys, whether it be Bryce, Will, Turner, Kool-Aid, Battle, Malachi Moore. I can name you so many guys that they came here. We think, okay, they're fixing to be, the next Mika Fitzpatrick, whatever. I'm trying to think of Reuben Foster's, whatever, and they're not producing. There's a reason when you have talent on both sides of the football, there's a reason talent doesn't produce. It's not because they don't have it. It's because what they're being taught. It's because of coaching.
I do think in the Will Anderson case, it's because no one else has done anything to draw any attention from him. You pretty much every single play see him getting double teamed or triple teamed.
I agree with that. I agree. But he's also not had this. He's been great, but he's not been what everybody thought he was going to be.
Right.
He's fell in the draft. We've seen his draft.
I think that's crazy, though. I think that it's another Kayvon Thibodeau situation, personally, where any team that gets him. I saw him mock to the Steelers, and him and TJ Watt together would be.
That would be a brutal defense, especially with a guy like Mike Tomlin.
Right.
Who knows how to coach defense, and that would be a great. I would love to see him go to the Cardinals as well, JJ Watt. Would love to see him go somewhere where he's got somebody there with him that's a top player in the NFL right now. Rams would be my top choice because of, that's not going to happen, but, Aaron Donald or the Bills, Von Miller, but obviously he's not going to fall that far.
Right, exactly. The Rams don't even have a first-round pick, so not going to happen. Kind of keeping up with the whole defense not producing. This is the last one I have about the defense. They had this cheetah package, right, where they bring in a bunch of small, fast guys for it. And it seems that I think the cheetah package is a little overrated. I want to get your opinion on it. I think that the way that it's been used, teams just go, okay, I'm going to run the ball now and get 5 yards per carry on the cheetah package whenever you bring it out.
Yeah, I agree because I agree with you. I think that, I'm okay with, giving up yards and bits and pieces, but, 5 yards a chunk that'll lose you the game quickly.
Right. And you look at what Georgia's done, right? They got a bunch of big, beefy, linebackers and linemen to go block up the run. Alabama's kind of gone for more like finesse guys trying to get to the passer. But when you do that and then you sacrifice the big lineman in the middle, you're just gonna let teams run on you all day, and I think that's one of the big problems.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
And then the last thing I want to talk about before we look at the top 6 teams this week is why do Tennessee fans not know how to win? Like, I feel like LSU fans have been so much more like business as usual, like humble about it. I think that I saw all week after the Tennessee win, all I saw was like toxic fans and everything.
I don't think they know how to lose either, but I mean, I don't think our fans are any better.
That's true.
I don't think our fans are any better with any the whole deal. I think everybody. I don't think there's a fan, but I think all fan bases are like this. And unless you're Auburn, you're just used to it by now. You don't even watch the games. But I mean, it's just not just their fan base. It's everybody.
Yeah, and then real quickly before we go, I want to talk about the top 6 for the college football playoff rankings. We got Georgia, OSU, Michigan, TCU, Tennessee, and Oregon.
I agree. I'll just make it short and sweet. I think that's the right top 6.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that TCU, like I said, is going to be out of it by the end of it. And I could see I props to Oregon, too, after the rough start to their season, how they bounced back.
So, quickly, got some games to pick for this weekend.
Okay. Yeah,
and
so
I added some games to that so we get our normal 10 games.
Okay. We don't have the spread or anything, but I'll just tell you, let's pick straight up wins and losses. Bama at Ole Miss, number 10, number 11.
I got the spreads right here. So, Ole Miss is 12 Bama is favored by 12.5.
I think Ole Miss covers, but I think Bama wins.
But your pick is Ole Miss covering.
Yeah,
I'm gonna agree with that.
Number 24 Washington at number 6 Oregon. I had this one because I think it could be a potential upset alert. I think that
that's minus 13.5 on this one.
I'm picking Washington to cover 13.5 point spread.
Interesting. I'm gonna go the Oregon money line.
Oregon money line. Gotcha. Number 4 TCU at number 18 Texas. Whatever the spread is, I'm picking Texas money line if they're not favored.
Well, interesting. I'm gonna agree with you on that's a tough one. The spread on this game is 7. Texas is favored by 7.
Oh, I'll pick Texas to cover. Actually, I think that.
I'm gonna go TCU money line.
Oh, okay.
I just think that somehow Texas gonna Sark it up, and I think Texas does not get it. And I'm sorry, I think TCU pulls a rabbit out of their hat again, and gets the win.
LSU at Arkansas.
LSU covers.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that Arkansas has been overrated since last year. Louisville at Clemson.
Clemson covers.
What's the spread on this?
The spread on that one is lost my place. 7 Clemson.
I'll pick Clemson money line. I think it's going to be close, but I think that they have a bounce back game. UCF at Tulane. Should be.
Yeah, I think Clemson covers as well. By the way, I think Clemson. I think I told you that one. Say that one again.
UCF at Tulane.
Oh, this is gonna be a good one. It's I guess the battle is to see who the second best group of 5 team is. I'm gonna go to UCF.
Okay. I'm something about the green wave. I'm picking Tulane. I'm a Tulane believer.
Interesting.
Georgia at Mississippi State.
I want this one to be close, but I don't think it's going to be close.
Oh yeah, Georgia by a billion. I think that Will Rogers and Mississippi State couldn't score against us until the last play of the game. Imagine what Georgia's going to do to them.
Yeah, I agree.
Texas A&M at Auburn. I thought this game was sold out despite both teams being 3-6.
Auburn money line.
Yeah, I'm picking Auburn just because they have the fired head coach buff, right? Anytime you fire, that's also a side note. I'm picking Jeff Saturday this week in the Colts to have like a weird upset.
Interesting.
And then UNC versus Wake Forest. I said earlier I'm picking Wake Forest. I think that UNC is giving up a lot of points, and I think that Wake is gonna be able to hold it out.
I agree. I'm going to go Wake as well.
All right, and I think that's all that we have for this week. So we'll be back Monday.
We'll be back Monday.
Yeah, and so thanks for watching, and hopefully Joe will be with us next time.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see you Monday. Peace. And then we wait for it.